We are back, bashing the brain after the brain finally woke up today. Good morning.
Good morning. I think next year Bash and the Brain should be nominated.
Well, hey, congratulations are in order. Matt Scouts, Outlet of the Year.
Yeah, I'm honored by it for real. Like this is the most so we're talking about National Wrestling Media Association awards. I won one I won one before for something else. I won a couple awards. But this one number 1, it's Outlet of the Year, right? So it's source. It's a source. It's a whole thing. It's not just like my writing or something. It's saying that Matt Scouts is an awesome resource, number 1, and that's a big thing to me because I went out on my own and tried to do something to establish something from scratch, and that at least people, some people recognize it as the site of the year is very encouraging to me and rewarding to me, and also this year there was more voters. The voter turnout from the National Wrestling Media Association members was the highest ever. So it wasn't like 7 dudes picked somebody, right? There was a
Wow.
significant number of people.
Wow.
Well, what?
Some of the awards are conspicuous. I don't know if that's
Mm-hmm.
the word. Let me look up the word conspicuous.
Dubious, maybe dubious.
Standing out as to be clearly visible. I don't know if that's the right word, but I agree with some of the ones. Others seem like they were a bit of
Yeah, you know what? I was getting text all morning about it. Um,
Dirty politics.
Congratulations, but
Dirty politics.
dirty politics, dirty politics. That's Jameson Felters.
I had somebody text me saying, "Hey, I thought you were going to win Podcast of the Year," and I said I never thought I would win it. And they said, "But I got to be honest, who's the guy who won?" And I said, "In all honesty, I've never heard of them." I'm like, "But it's great. We need more podcasts covering." We talked about it a couple weeks ago with NCAA. It's like podcasts are the future. The more people we can get podcasting, the more people we can put a spin on wrestling and their spin.
Especially, you know, to me, I don't know, there's probably 10 pretty. I mean, there's a number of significant good D1 podcasts. I think it's important for there to be D3, D2 content. Um, and people have been texting me all morning like, congratulations, but what about this category? What about that category? And there's been people saying, well, Jason Bryant runs it and he picks whoever he wants. It's a vote, guys. It's a vote. Jason Bryant's not hand picking these things. Okay, and a lot of people don't want to believe that, or a lot of people just want to put blame on Jason. It's a vote, and you could criticize the winners and you could criticize the voters, but don't criticize Jason Bryant. That's just stupid. Um,
I
I myself has never I have never listened to the D3 podcast. If you're telling me that the I find it hard to believe that the voters listen to more slash like the D3 podcast more than
FRL, the first word, this
FRL,
show.
the first word, Baschamania. Um, that seems hard to believe, but I don't know. One of two things: either they're being a little disingenuous, maybe they want to give some D3 love, maybe that's it. It's probably, listen. Flo has never won an award, right? So that Martin won one for something. I Bader might have done something, but when I was there, I never won for anything. I won for Writer of the Year for the open mat before I got there, and then I won a couple years after I left Flo, and then I won this now. But the fact that Flo never won for anything, I think, tells you something. It tells you the voters. It tells you the voters don't like Flo. They ain't vote for Flo for anything.
Yeah,
They're not going to do it.
and that's why I used the Dirty Politics, the classic Felters video, because it does seem like you can give love to a D3 podcast, and I'm an advocate of getting as many podcasts out there as possible. I do find it hard to believe that people genuinely voted for a podcast that had less than 20 episodes all year over.
Well, hey, that's a good point. Now, we talked about this when the nominations came out. We talked about this and on the air, on the show, and I said, I'm not sure that I'll get serious contention for that because I don't know if I do it regularly enough, right? And so I was even like, maybe I don't deserve it. I did more than 19. Right.
Yeah, and I'm not consistent either, but I think I still had at least like 40 shows last year or so. So, it is what it is. I was chuckling, like for people who think we're being serious, like we both want as many people covering the sport as possible. We want as many collaborations as possible.
Yeah.
But I was having some fun this morning.
I'm not being critical. I'm not poo-pooing anything. What I'm talking about is the realization, the realities of how the voting goes and stuff like that. So I'm congratulatory to D3. I hope more lower level wrestling content creators get recognized. I'm just talking a little bit about what may be going on with the voting.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have, whether you like Flow or not, I know it's a very divided group, but still, you do have to give your hats off to any podcast in wrestling that goes 1,000 episodes. Like
1,000 episodes, it's definitely
the most watched podcast in wrestling by far.
I was going to say it's probably the most watched. I don't watch it religiously. I check in from time to time. I think they do a great job.
People love consistency, and they've been very consistent since
and
COVID.
They have consistency for sure. They have pretty good production. So, yeah.
But that's
there.
There.
It was nominated, right? It was nominated. So
yep.
Anybody that's saying like Jason Bryant's gatekeeping anything, it was nominated. He put it out there for the people to vote for, and they didn't vote. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying don't blame Jason.
I think the issue lies more with people voting against people than voting for people. That's my hunch. But
here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing.
I do like Shannon Scoville. Hope I'm pronouncing her name right, as the Journalist of the Year. I think awesome. She has done an incredible job for NCAA.com. Incredible job. Very well deserved.
With the Flow thing, you can't run around. You can't run around burning bridges and stabbing people in the back and making enemies, and then you go, oh, nobody votes for me. I mean, it's not a shock. What are you doing?
Listen, at least I know people aren't going to vote for me. I know it. It is what it is. I have fun doing this show, and I've said it on so many shows where I've had a wrestler on, and we're just talking for an hour, 2 hours, and I've texted them after, and I've said, even if nobody watched this episode, the fact that we got to have that conversation for an hour or two, I would do it 10 times over. It's so fun to do that.
Right. I mean, we do.
By the way, how's my mic sound today? Mic sound a little better?
Your mic sounds great. Also, I'm 7 hours late. I set my alarm for 3 a.m. And I tried to power through, and then like midnight, 1 o'clock, I feel like I'm fading. I'm like, this is problems. I'm going to run into problems. I'm going to set my alarm in case I doze off. And I dozed off and didn't even hear the alarm.
Yeah, I did have some fun. I was reading through the Willie files, which this still might like get released at some point, because just it's 20 pages of largely no context. Just I use my notes app on my phone. You use Google Docs. But there's a lot of things on here that just randomly, I'll name a couple of tidbits, random lines that you see in this document. Don Ron in the history of the cement job. Just a random line, no context, no nothing.
Ideas for content.
There was one, Coaches of the Future, Hidley's at Bloom.
Whoa!
Is that cut? Okay, we'll cut that. That's not going to make the air.
No, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. You can leave it in there.
Here, I had a friend ask me if I could find him Ohio State Cornell tickets. No context, no year, no nothing. Here's one. Here's one of my favorite lines. What's your opinion? You need to say something? That's it.
I don't know. Like, this doc has been going on for years, and there's stuff in there that usually I only use the stuff at the top, but also down below, there's all these notes for content and reminders to do stuff.
There's a lot of great. This gave me a lot of great ideas for shows we could do. Like, there's definitely some fun stuff. Here's one.
Here.
Tell me what this means.
What?
That being said, I'll take Penn State by pin.
That's Jason Nolf.
That's right. That video he did.
I know what they are. I know what that is. That's from recently. Those are ideas for T-shirts for NCAAs.
Oh, I like that. That makes sense. You big puss,
like,
black and gold.
Imagine if you put on the front of a shirt, that being said, and on the back of the shirt, Penn State by fall.
I like that. Yeah, I'm going to text Nolf about that. We should do that. Cry about it, purple and yellow, you big puss, black and gold. These are great. These got to get printed. Yeah.
Right? Just like print like 20 of them, throw them out at NCAA.
Oh, wrestling media credentials, since you have this written down.
Yeah.
I can't say who it is. I told him I wouldn't say it. I'll tell you offline. There is a big outlet, not Barstool, but think Barstool as far as, big audience, not traditional media. And they said they wanted to come cover the NCAA tournament this year and create content nonstop. NCAA denied them and said, nope, sorry, you're not traditional media. Crazy. I've heard a couple more stories come out like that where people are DMing me like, yeah, hey, we applied, got denied. We applied, got denied.
Yeah. And I tell you, like, it's really stupid. It's hard to, you have to explain it to people. Like when you put out, or Jason Bryant puts out that, Jason Bryant got denied for, or Tony Hager got denied for Minnesota, and like you got denied for NCAAs and no podcast. It's like, I don't think people understand the gravity. They don't understand what goes into it. And they're like, oh, you're whining. You didn't get in. If you would ever go on press row and see who gets credentialed, I mean, there's people that they just got out of the nursing home. They get out of the nursing home for the weekend. They don't know who Andrew Alirez is. They never heard of Neutral Danger. They sit there for 3 days, do no content, and read the free program that they were given by the credential. There's a lot of dead weight there. There's a lot of not great people there. They don't vet. They don't give it to the needle movers. I mean, their objective, their process does not say, oh, how much of a impact does this have. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, it's stupid for a branch to approve and deny media request when they don't know the applicants.
Yeah, and it also, I can't remember if we talked about it last week or not, but it also has a lot to do with what you're doing throughout the year, and being there is often important to just maintain relationships and talk to people.
Somebody also said to me, like, well, Basch just does a podcast. What does he really need a credential for? Listen, your podcast, there's about 6 maybe needle moving podcasts that are well informed and people listen to. Part of being well informed is being on the ground floor, talking to people, rubbing elbows, getting some perspective, getting some context. So don't miss me with that stuff. I mean,
Yeah, it's also where you meet
can
people
say,
and
you can say, well, Bash only does a podcast, so what does he need a credential for? Well, what do 90% of those people that are credentialed, what do they need a credential for?
yeah, there's very few people
They're
there.
doing they're doing results. They could do that from their house.
And there's very few people because of the limitations on who can actually even put out content. Like you can't put out content of the actual wrestling. So you can be somebody like Zeb who gets a lot of video of interviews after the matches, in the tunnel. But there's only a finite number of people who are doing that. The rest of it, it's a lot of like people you want there that are throughout the year marketing the sport, growing the sport. And it's a good place to build on connections and line podcast episodes up.
You want me to piss a lot of people off right now? The SIDs, they started putting like a lot of the SIDs on the floor. For what?
I noticed that back in Detroit.
For what? They can be in the tunnels. They can work back in the media center. And at any time they can go up and say, they can get their guys. The guys know who they are. If they need to talk to somebody, they can go get them. Mm-hmm. They're not writing stories on the tournament, right? Yeah. It's just ridiculous. That and here, so I just pissed off all the SIDs. Here's another one. There are 4 gazillion, bazillion, trizillion photographers. It's like, what? Like, half these guys like take their pictures and like save them on their album, and they go nowhere. What are we doing?
There are a lot more photographers than used to go, and the funny thing is, I was just talking to one of my clients about this and trying to get the value because they were debating hiring a photographer to go there and capture footage of NIL athletes, and it's like, well, you can't use any footage of them in a singlet. You can't show the school logo on any of your business promotional materials. So you got to hope you catch them wearing an off-brand T-shirt in the back, or you can't really monetize that footage. Yeah, so it's like it's one of those things where it's very hard, as you're getting more and more photographers there. Mostly I feel like they're being affiliated with the school, but yeah. So anyways, that's the update on the media credentials as I'm hearing it. And it's not a big deal. I think, I just, for the future of the sport, I do wish they were I think it's all the podcast. It's that Flow Wrestling is a website and a podcast. It's like they're a streaming service. They're not streaming the event. You're still going to have a lot of Flow guys there, as they should be. They cover the event. But if you go, Flow Wrestling isn't traditional media, it doesn't matter. They move the needle. They have the biggest audience in wrestling.
Yeah, right. I mean, you could say the same thing about Flow, and people do. Oh, why's Flow get 6 press passes? They can't do they can't film matches, and they can't do this, and they can't do that. Who puts in more work as a team all season long than Flow?
Right.
I mean, stop. They get 6 guys. They should get 6 guys.
Yeah. No, I'm all for that. Do you want to talk Big Ten seeds? You have that on this note, but I don't know if that's a.
I did Big Ten seeds. I did a whole show discussing them, and rationalizing them, and I think they're pretty darn close, guys. Especially, I don't know. There's probably 6 weights that I'm going to tell you they're probably spot on, even though there's some things that look really weird. So I don't know. I did a whole show on it. You might want to go watch that if you're. I mean, is there anything cooler at this juncture than projecting Big Ten seeds? It's the premier conference. It's got so much weight to it, and the conference dual season is over. So it's a good time for that. I don't know if you want to discuss anything with it. If you looked at it, I don't even know if you looked at it, but
I read through the projections. I I watched most of the video. I thought it all made sense. The only weight
How
that
mad are you? How mad are you that I projected Nagel as a 9?
Not mad at all. I think the way you explained the seeds this year and where they're putting weight on different things, Nagel has also had an off year with, being a little banged up, being sick here and there. So he hasn't had that full kind of year where it's like, yeah, that's kind of what happens. But there wasn't that many surprises. I thought you made a good explanation at the beginning. Because when I first saw it, the first weight I looked at was I jumped to 141 to see if you had it how we said it on the podcast. And I think the only difference was you had Mendez 2, Real 3. I think I might have said Real 2, Mendez 3 or something. But
Well, I did that only because, it's not that I did it. It's that going by the procedures that they're supposed to follow, Real has 2 losses and Mendez has 1.
yeah. But yeah, definitely.
Nagel, and what I explained was that the Big Ten sort of operates in their own universe within intra-conference opponents, and Nagel, for being as good as he is, and he's really good, he doesn't have a whole lot of wins. So when you're looking at it, a lot of times, if there is a circumstance where you don't have a lot of good conference wins, you might supplement that with good out-of-conference wins. For instance, like if Peyton Robb's his ledger's not great in conference, but he has a CKLV title with a win over Ja'Cory, so that helps him a little bit. Nagel doesn't have that.
Well, and three of the four losses Nagel has had is in the Big Ten. He lost to Shaver, he lost to Buzakis, and he lost to Ragusin. And there's a couple other duels, like the Nebraska duel, where he was sick, so he didn't compete. So
Right.
he had 3 out of his 4 losses in the conference, and
3
a
out of
couple
4
of
losses
yeah.
in
So
conference. The other loss was to Crookham. He has 2 in-conference wins, both of which are over Andrew Hampton of Michigan State, who is 4-19, and his best out-of-conference win would be maybe Colin Shriver or maybe Gabe Wisenhunt, and Shriver may or may not be the entry. So, yeah, it's things like it's interesting to look at, even if you're even if you're a guy that aren't high on seeds, like whatever, they'll figure it out. They're going to wrestle.
yeah.
To dig into those sort of nuances, it might be interesting.
Well, that's why when you gave a pretty elongated explanation in the beginning. So by the time you said Nagel 9, that it makes sense, guys. 3 out of 4 losses in the Big Tens, all the top 10 guys, So, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Hey, you got any updates, any notes from Pan Am so far? It's been mostly, the freestylers haven't started yet, but
yeah. One note.
Well,
It's what we said
when do they
last.
start?
Tomorrow. The men start tomorrow. Tomorrow will
And
be.
like Spencer's bracket is not much.
Nah. So initially, Roman Bravo Young was going to go. That's what I was saying last week. I didn't want to put it on the air. Roman likes to just keep things close to home. So he decided not to go to both. Him and his coaches just decided too much wear and tear on the body, not really needed. If you are going to qualify the weight and you go to the Pan Am Championships, you do get some seeding points. So the play would have been go to the Pan Am Championships, increase your seed, which will help you next week qualify the weight. But they just decided it wasn't worth it. But tomorrow, I believe it's Soriano at 61, Dake at 74, and Marsteller at 86 going. And Saturday, the rest of men's freestyle. Today and tomorrow, the women's freestyle. But yeah, so Friday and Saturday, men's freestyle starts at 11 a.m. Eastern, semis at 3, finals at 6. You can watch it on Flow. And then if Soriano and Pantelio win gold, they qualify for the Olympic Games. or the Olympic trials.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that RBY isn't going. I was more surprised that he was signed up for both. I mean, to me, that seems like a death march. Like, you're a 133 pounder. You're not enormous, but you're going to. Is it the best plan to make weight back to back before a qualifier? I don't think so. It's not right. You're staying down for quite a long time. So to me, it was the logical thing.
And also, I don't know. People were asking why Soriano and Pantaleo at those weights if they can qualify for the Olympic trials there. I'm honestly not sure. Some guys are going to Dan Koloff and Yasardo Gu. Both of those tournaments are March 7th through the 10th. I know Jordan Burroughs is going to the Yasardo Gu, and I know others are, going to some other tournaments. Those should all be announced soon. But, I think these guys are really just trying to figure out their best schedule, which is why, again, I don't know what the process was for Soriano and Pantaleo to get those two spots, because that seems like a pretty easy way to qualify for the Olympic trials, all things considered. If you can compete at your natural weight and then only have to cut down for the trials versus having to cut down to your weight to go to last chance.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with it. It seems like an easy way to qualify, and some people might take issue with that. But the fact of the matter is, it guarantees you nothing except a spot at the table. You still have to make scratch weight for the trials. You still have to win. You still have to, qualify the weight at certain weights. I don't think there's any unfairness about it.
No. And these guys also, you got to think that these guys competing at their normal weights with the World Championships coming up for the non-Olympic weights, you can get more juice for those too.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. If they don't make the team or they don't qualify for the trials, they can make the team at the weight they're wrestling now.
But it's pretty cool that we're going to have 3 straight weeks of senior level wrestling.
It's awesome. One of the things that I think lack in world wrestling is a regular schedule. It's really hard to maintain any sort of continuity, build storylines, keep people engaged when the schedule is helter skelter. There's no consistency, and so when you get a few weeks in a row where there's news and action and results, it's a great thing.
Yeah. So, and it sounds like McFadden, the PRTC announced that McFadden, Doug Zapp, and Mike Boykin are all going to the last chance qualifier April 7th. So I'm glad to see that McFadden's healed up. He had that injury that he tried wrestling through. So good to see he's back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you want to talk some college wrestling?
Yeah, we get so wrapped up a lot of times in recapping what just happened, and in large part, the Big Ten dual season. Well, the Big Ten dual season is over, but I didn't realize how many great duels are this weekend. I knew Okie State, Iowa, okay, but there's a lot of good ones. There's much more than that. Virginia Tech, NC State. Missouri has 2, Northern Iowa and Iowa State. Nebraska, Arizona State has Nebraska and
hey, you want
Lehigh.
A fun fact for the Arizona State duels?
Yeah.
There's a chance we see Caleb Larkin at one of those. Larkin versus Lovett would be fun.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'm told that Caleb Larkin's getting really big.
I heard there's a chance he could be wrestling one of the 2 duels this weekend.
I hope so. Now, maybe he wrestles 49. Maybe he wrestles 49. But I heard he's getting really big. They're going to have Arizona State's going to have an issue next year in that, well, Parko's back. Teamer's back. And then they got Larkin, who's an absolute terror. So Larkin's going to end up going 57 and Teamer's going to go 65 or vice versa.
Yeah.
They got one of those good problems.
Yeah. So
I bet you.
There's also
Teamer moves up.
Some of these duels this weekend. Also, like even individually in some of the matchups, like, which by the way, Iowa State's doing an incredible job marketing some of these matches. They put the Younger Bastida versus Zach Elam. Something's got to give because they're both undefeated, like 20-0 and 17-0. I love that they're marketing matches like that. Love that.
Yeah. How great is it? And then you have the pound for pound DC versus O'Toole. But yeah, it's great to see undefeated versus undefeated at heavyweight, both in the Big 12. Big 12 heavyweight's awesome.
Looking through. All right, so Friday night big duel, Virginia Tech, NC State.
Yep, Friday. The weekend starts off 2:00 Rider, Cleveland State, Harvard, Brown, Chattanooga, Indiana, which is going to be some decent matches. But let's break down Virginia Tech at NC State, and the way the matchups go. Virginia Tech has a shot, but it is going to be really, really tough because I don't really see a path for 6 wins. I have it 8-2 on paper for NC State, and now Virginia Tech can certainly take like 3 more of those.
I'm 7-3. I saw your picks. I only disagree with one.
So I think they could get to 5. 6 is like everything going right for them, but the margins are small. Tech could do it, but the margins are really small. The safe money's on NC State. Let's go through it. Cooper Flynn, Jacob Camacho at 125. Who you going with there? I know you love Camacho.
Yeah, I'm riding that Camacho train. I've been picking him lately. He got that 5-1 win over Brett Unger in the Cornell duel. Again, I said it with previewing that duel. There's similarities between him and Peyton Robb's season where they dropped 4 in a row in the middle of the season, but outside of that, they look very good. And
yeah, I mean, I was super high on Camacho coming into the year. Like I thought he was, I ain't gonna lie, I thought he was like an outside title contender. And now, even if you disagree with that, I hope that you would say that he's like a podium threat. Then he went on a really bad run, and I have to think it was a weight thing. And Camacho does hold previous head-to-head over Flynn, so I'm taking Camacho as well.
Yep. But again, if you go by what's their path and what does NC State need, Cooper Flynn is the 7, and Jacob Camacho is ranked 16th. So right. you have some matchups on paper, and there's a couple more where Virginia Tech has, on paper the advantage, but again, Camacho I think gets the win here. But
to me, Virginia Tech's path is the first 3, and I'm picking NC State at all 3 weights, but they are all winnable. Flynn can beat Camacho. Latona can beat Oreen, but I'm picking Oreen. Latona owns this all-time series 2-1.
Intermat, by the way, does have Cooper Flynn 3 now, and Camacho the 14.
Yeah. So yeah, 133, same story. Latona an underdog, but he can absolutely win. In fact, he has a 2-1 lead in the all-time series. And then Tom Crook, who's really salty. Against Ryan Jack, who we just saw having to come back against backup Josh Saunders. So can Crook win? Yeah, but I'm not picking him. So I got NC State sweeping the first 3. What do you have at 33 and 41?
The same. Kyle Oreen, I was very disappointed. I believe Dayton Fix was sick for that match or something, but I was very disappointed. I really wanted to see that one. Oreen kid is just so exciting to watch.
He's a dog, man.
I was
He's a
excited
dog.
for that Fix match, and then we didn't get it. Fix was sick.
How about it?
And then Oreen comes out, throws the guy, and you're like, this is why we wanted Oreen Fix, because the kid is just so exciting.
Think about it. They had duels with Oklahoma State and Cornell, and Oreen didn't hit either Vito or Dayton.
I know. Yeah, so I got the same. I got NC State sweeping the first three.
See, that's right. That's I think those are the correct picks, but they're all winnable for Virginia Tech. And frankly, for Virginia Tech to win the duel, I think they have to have all three.
In 49, I feel like 49 is an awesome, awesome match. You have number 2, Caleb Henson, with only 1 loss on the year, versus number 3, Jackson Arrington, with only 1 loss on the year. So another credible match. You can get 2 versus 3
Henson's
there.
only losses to Ridge and CKLV finals. Who's Arrington's loss?
Dylan D'Amelio, 9-8 at the Cliff Keen.
Okay. So, here's one where...
Who he then beat 5-3 in the duel.
Here's one. And I'm a big Arrington fan, have been since high school. I thought that coming into the year, he could be one of the nation's most improved wrestlers. And he's all the way up to number 3 in the country. Thing is, Caleb Henson's a different animal. I think there's a couple tiers here in at 149. I think Ridge is like 1A. Maybe I think Ridge is probably 1A. I think Henson's probably 1B. I think Gomez is probably 1C, and then 2 includes guys like Arrington. And so is Jackson Arrington ready to take the leap into the next tier?
And it's interesting because we could get this match again, we very likely will, for the ACC finals. So
I got Henson here for first time for Tech, gets them on the board, so something like 9-3, going to 157. And here's a big reason why it's an uphill battle for Virginia Tech, because Andonian's probably going to rest until ACCs. And so you probably have Clayton Olray or Rafael Hippolito, a kid that from the state of Virginia that I'm really high on, but he's a true freshman. And NC State has Ed Scott going, so I'll take Scott.
Okay, so that makes sense. That was one of the ones I disagreed with you on. Because I think Henson and Arrington is going to be a toss-up. I went Henson as well just because I have a hard time seeing NC State win 4 in a row against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
So I went Henson, and then I was going to go Andonian, but if he's not wrestling, then Ed Scott's kind of
he's been out for quite a while, and I would imagine they just make sure he's right for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. Then give me Ed Scott too there.
Yep, 165 is a matchup of 2 guys in the teens. Derek Fields, who's been really good this year. I only think he has like just 2 losses. I think he's in his 3rd year in college, sophomore. And he's had a really solid season. I'll take him over Brady, but that's another toss kind of.
Let's see.
Everybody's going to take Mackay at 74.
Yeah.
I think at 184, TJ Stewart's a promising freshman, just had a win over Reese Heller. But I think the pick right now is Fishback, who had close matches with Pinto, beat Foca. So he's kind of way more proven than TJ Stewart is at this point. So I think you take Fishback. Everybody's going to take Hidley over Smith. And then Treffin Kaka is within the margins, but I think you take Treffin. And so it's a fantastic duel with a lot of matches hanging in the balance. There's not an overwhelming favorite in most bouts, and it's going to be great. It's the first big one of the weekend, 7 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
Also that night, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia Cavaliers against Pittsburgh, Bucknell, Princeton. An hour after Tech and NC State starts, we're going to have to double up, get two screens out because we have Missouri at Northern Iowa, and it's a really interesting duel with some high-profile matches. Anderson and Certain at 25. Farber probably against... dang it. I forget who's been in place of Cade Moore. I don't think Cade Moore is going to come back yet. I mean, if you missed it, Cade Moore, the freshman starter for Missouri at 133, who had a big lead on Vito Araju, came down with a typical injury for a college wrestler. He got hit with a bong and had to get stitches.
Those photos were crazy.
So he's probably out. Happel versus Edmond should be a good one. Allard, Milan, Downey Mahler is the one. You talk about a guy like Jackson Arrington. Let's see if he can click and get to the next tier, right? Ryder Downey has wins over Chittum. He has wins over Peyton Robb. Mahler's kind of right in that category too. Let's see if Downey can pick up another quality win. He has a big weekend. It's a big weekend. I would say if you took any single individual, say this weekend, this individual has the biggest opportunity across all D1 wrestling. It's Ryder Downey because he has
Interesting.
Mahler on Friday. Oh no, my bad. Mahler has Downey and Chittum. So it's a big weekend for Mahler. What else is in there? O'Toole, Mako, Keckeisen, Whiting, Volker, Elam, Gordon, Elam. So it's going to be a good duel at Northern Iowa 1 hour after the start of Tech and NC State. Is that right? Or is that Saturday? No, that's Friday. It's Friday. Yep, that's Friday. Saturday, not much going on. Cal Baptist at Utah Valley, who just got a new head coach in Adam Hall. I'm very excited about that because Adam Hall is a no-nonsense. He's going to get the job done. The only question about how good Adam Hall will do is it's not a question of will he do good, it's how good, because he's going to run a good ship. But Lehigh at Arizona State. Now I'm kind of interested in because Arizona State has two good duels this weekend. Saturday against Lehigh, Sunday against Nebraska. I'm interested if Schultz will be back for those from Acapulco. But you can get a Richie Figs versus Stanich matchup. Vasquez versus Malik Hines. That should be a good one. And then quietly, Nathan Taylor, who I really like. I would like to see him against Schultz. I mean, Schultz is clearly the pick, but I'd like to see the results. So that's going to be a fun one. There's some really good individual bouts there. Arizona State right now down as a dual meet team, really good tournament team, but they haven't been the best. They're not composed to be a great dual meet team this year. Sunday, we start early, noon, American Columbia, Binghamton, Cornell, Gardner Webb, Appalachian State, Michigan, Central Michigan, Wisconsin, Northern Iowa, Penn State wrestles Edinburgh.
What's that line going to be?
I don't want to talk about it. It's bad. The state schools right now in PA are not doing great. I'd really like to. Actually, I'm going to be honest with you. About midnight last night, I emailed Bloomsburg and I said, "Let's talk." I swear to God, I swear on the Bible. I swear on the Bible. Last night, actually, I sent 2 emails last night to athletic departments. You want to know who they are?
Let's hear it.
Bloomsburg is one. Bloomsburg's one. I said, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about like getting some funding. I can facilitate this. We got to get some funding there. Let's they have 3.5 scholarships. Let's get that to 7. And I don't.
And for those wondering where this came from, Rutgers beat Bloomsburg 37-8.
Yeah.
And then he was sitting there and.
Yeah. And Joe Kania tweeted at me, I hope Bloomsburg can straighten out the thing. And I didn't respond to it because it made me angry. But what I did do was email their athletic department. So let's talk. And you know who else I emailed in athletic department? Midnight. It's probably not good to send an email at midnight because they probably think you're a nutbag. But anyway, that's when I work.
Well, it's like the Pirates said this morning. Wrestling Pirates said, "Do you know 7 a.m. is 4 a.m. where Willie is?" But yeah, he's a night owl. It's when he likes doing his shows. I either have to stay up real late or Willie gets up real early to do them. It's one of the two.
Yeah. But I emailed the University of Idaho.
Really? That's an interesting one.
Yeah. I said, look, I'm a wrestling journalist. I think you could be viable. I know it's probably completely off your radar and frankly, not something that will happen. But I'd like to at least talk about it and hear your reasons why not. I doubt they'll get back to me. But whatever.
All right, so back to Sunday, Edinburgh, Penn State, the potential line derailed Willie. Then we have Nebraska at Arizona State.
Yeah, and I think, again, Nebraska are really solid. Not solid. They're upper echelon. They're an upper echelon dual meet team, and Arizona State's not really built that way. But there should be some competitive matches. Figueroa versus Caleb Smith. Clabo versus Van D. Vasquez Hardy's a good one. Parco Lovett. I mean, Lovett's
or Caleb Larkin, maybe.
Lovett and P-Rob's schedule have been like ridiculous. P-Rob has faced Franek, Levi, somebody else was in there, and now whoever Michigan won, Luan, and now he goes out to Teamer, right? So P-Rob's been in the trenches. Lovett, same thing. He's had Kasich and Gomez and now Parco. 165 McLean, Antrell, and depending, if Schultz. But I mean, the individual matchups here are more interesting than the dual meet result. And then that is at 1 p.m. At 3 p.m. Also at 3 p.m. Dang it, they're the same time. Oh, they're all at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Nebraska, Arizona State, Missouri, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State, Iowa are all at 3.
It's all 3 Eastern, I think, right?
Yeah, it's all at 3 Eastern. I was looking at flights the last 2 days. I'm really close to pulling the trigger and flying to Stillwater because that duel's going to be lit.
Yeah,
that duel's
going to be.
I want to be there. I want to be there so bad. It just doesn't make sense to spend $1,200 for a flight and 2 nights a hotel and be on the road and away from watching, not dialed into all things wrestling, to sit there for an hour and a half, 2-hour dual meet. But man, I want to be there in that atmosphere. It's going to be almost sold out, if not sold out.
No, they announced it was sold out.
It's sold out, yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be awesome. I want to be there so bad, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. But first things first, Missouri at Iowa State should be a great, great Big 12 finale. Terrakina got in some trouble, so I doubt we see him at 125. It's going to be probably Ethan Perryman, a kid out of Temecula, California, who I really like, against Noah Certain. Frost against whoever Missouri sends in place of Cade Moore, so that makes the duel even more interesting. Well, I guess no, we wouldn't. We wanted to see Frost versus Moore. Etchemendy Edmond. Swiderski should beat Milan. Chita Mahler, premier bout. DC O'Toole, best bout of, I don't know. It's certainly like the year. Gatan Mako, fun. Feldkamp Whiting, both ranked about near each other. Broderson Elam. Elam should win that. And then undefeated versus undefeated. Younger Bastida against Elam. And so, what a amazing duel. There's so many stories there. Who you got?
That's going to be a fun duel.
Real quick, who you got? Chittum versus Mahler.
Chittum.
Who you got? DC O'Toole.
Carr.
Is there any reason that we should talk about why? Like most of the time, you do these things where, okay, here's the big matchup, and I'm taking this guy, and why are you taking him? And it's because he does this, and because he does that. Listen, these guys are freaking both amazing. I don't know that there's any reason to say why.
Yeah, well, there's two reasons for me. One is the fact that Carr is one of my guys. I'm always rooting for him. I love David Carr. He's one of my guys. On top of that, as good as O'Toole looks, Carr also beat him twice last year at both the duel and Big 12s. So if anybody's going to beat O'Toole this year, not if anybody, because I think there's some other guys that could give him a run. Messenbrink looks really good. But David Carr has what it takes. He's beaten him twice last year.
It certainly has what it takes. It's been proven.
And I think it's going to be very hard for these guys. If either one of them wins NCAAs, they will have to wrestle the other 2, if not 3 times. And I just think it's very hard, as we saw last year, for either guy to win all 3.
Yeah, listen, there's nothing to look at technically and say, well, this guy does this and this guy does that, and therefore I think this guy has the edge. They're both, it's a nip and tuck battle.
No, 100%, yeah.
It can go either way. I think the one thing that favors DC in this particular matchup is last home duel. I think he wears that on his shoulders. I think that's a thing. I think he wants to go out there and, I mean, now you could say, well, Willie, don't you think the NCAA finals meant a lot to him too? And he lost that one. Well, yeah, but it was an NCAA final for Keegan too. Keegan's not a senior. He's not wrestling his last match at home. I think in a toss-up bout, it could favor DC. I'm not saying it does.
Yeah.
But that's one intangible note that I got. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know who I'm picking. I don't know if there's any sense in picking it. I just sit back and watch and enjoy it.
It's one of those great matches that they're both very likable kids, so you don't have a lot of like dislike for one or the other by the fans. It's one of those matches where fans are just going to tune in and watch great wrestling.
And they've hit each other so much, and they're also like really classy about it. Like they're really, and so I think it's the one like great college rivalry that people just enjoy. Right? They're not pulling real hard for either guy. They just want.
I'm pulling hard for Carr.
Well, that's because you have an existing relationship. I'm talking about people that are, not tied into either one, a person from California, Joe Schmo from New York, right? I think this is one where there's no reason to dislike this guy or dislike that guy. They're both
agreed.
Yeah. All right. Iowa at Oklahoma State.
What a fun one.
Iowa at Oklahoma State. I'm telling you, every bout in this duel is at stake. I mean, there's no overwhelming favorite, with perhaps the exception of Fix against Teskey and Schriever. Every single other match is interesting. And it's such a contrast in narratives of where the programs are. It's really funny because to listen to the Iowa fans I mean, think about this. To listen to Iowa fans, the sky is falling. And to listen to the Oklahoma State fans, we are back, baby. And yet, I was probably favored. It's so funny how those narratives are clashing this weekend.
Iowa
Um,
has, or WrestleStat has Iowa 18-13.
Yep, and it they have dude. I don't know. I am a WrestleStat lover. I think the overwhelming majority of wrestling fans are. Either way, if you are or you aren't, you have to check out WrestleStat's duel comparison between for this duel because there are some weird winners in there that you wouldn't think of, and also probably like 7 of the 10 bouts are 1 point.
I heard Drake Ayala may still be sick and not go this weekend.
He was sick for real.
Yeah, I heard
real.
that's why he didn't
was.
wrestle last
He was
week.
sick for real, right? It wasn't like he had a nagging injury. It wasn't like he was ducking. It was like,
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's still sick.
That's huge for the duel because I got Drake winning at 25, and
I have Drake winning as well.
but
Although I think this is a thing. I think
it's
this is
100%.
thing. Spratley has been really, really good. And the other thing about Oklahoma State the past, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, they would start the season with a lot of talent and really good on paper. And then they'd lose a lot of close ones. They just didn't kind of get it done. They just kind of didn't I'm not going to say they underachieved, but they certainly didn't max out. And there was always like this little letdown at the end of the season. This year's been different. Spratley looks like he's wrestling his best of the whole season. Jamison looks like he's wrestling his best of the whole season. Even Braden Thompson, who's a true freshman, he had not a great loss recently, but certainly leaps and bounds better than to start the year. So it does seem like Oklahoma State is fresh and happy. Like there's when they're winning and they're cheering. I don't know, body language. They look like they're having fun. And I think they're in a really good place is what I'm saying. And so on the road, perhaps sick, Drake against Spratley. I have Drake marked down as the winner, but I think this is a great bout. And
it's a huge, huge team swing if Drake doesn't go.
If Drake doesn't go, or if Drake does go and Spratley wins, it changes the whole complexion of the duel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, big one to start. I got Drake, but I think Spratley can do it. 133, you take Fix, no matter if it's Shriever or Teskey.
Yeah.
141, 2 months ago, you say Real next topic. But look, Real nearly got beat by Etchemendia. It was a controversial call. Controversial no call. And Jamison beat Etchemendia. I didn't really like the way Jamison did it because he was very defensive, backing up a lot. Etchemendia was taking it to him. Jamison got a counter takedown. That being said, they both beat Etchemendia, both very closely. Real hasn't looked himself. Real is the pick. But if you're telling me Jamison wins, if we're waking up Monday morning, you told me Jamison won, it's not earth-shattering at this point.
Yeah. I think Real's a little bit more of a favorite than you're describing, but I would be a lot more surprised than you, I think, if Real Woods dropped one this weekend.
Yeah. I'm just saying the interest factors there, right? You want to watch it because it's not like next topic. Um, Now 149, Rachi got hurt. Rachi got hurt against Zargo. He finished the match, but um, to me on paper, I cannot. It doesn't really matter what Jordan Williams does. I always believe in his upside. I think he's going to figure it out. Um, I think he's really solid, and I don't think that him beating anyone really is out of. I think he could swipe a win from anyone at any time. I think he's that talented. Um, so I would consider Rachi a slight favorite, um, or maybe even a moderate favorite over Williams. However, two things: one, he could be dinged up. Two, it might not even be him; it might be Voinovich.
Voinovich going for Iowa in Oklahoma State in a close
Yeah,
duel is an underwhelming or overlooked storyline of this weekend.
yeah, yeah, yep. Um, so who are you taking, Rachi or Williams, or Voinovich or Williams? I have this marked down as Iowa 3, but
I think Iowa gets the win here. I think even if Voinovich goes against his old team, I don't know, something I like about that. I think Iowa gets the 3 here.
okay. So I have Drake, Real, Rachi. After 4 bouts, I have it 3-1 Iowa. Now 157. I'm going to tell you again. I picked Real over Jameson. I picked Drake over Spratley. I picked Rachi over Williams. And all of them have the opportunity to go Okie State's way,
Yeah.
as does 57. If you think Teague Travis can't go with or snake a win against Franek, I don't know what you're looking at, because Franek wins. Teague Travis has had a really, really good year. B, didn't he beat Brock Mahler? He beat Brock Mahler.
Franik's also dropped 2 of his last 3.
And he wins by a point all the time. It's a one takedown match all the time. So if you think an upset isn't out of the possibility, you're nuts. It's another match that's really intriguing. And another match that I will take. I'm taking Iowa in every toss-up so far. Or not toss-up. They're a minor favorite, and you take them because that's what the data suggests. But to have them all go Iowa's way, duels just never work out that way.
Right.
But anyway, I got it 4-1 at the midway point, so call it 12-3 Iowa at the break. 165 Caliendo, Oleshnik. These guys finished NCAAs right around the same spot. Actually, Caliendo finished 1 spot higher, I believe. Or was it 6th and 7th or 6th and 8th? Caliendo actually finished higher than him. Oleshnik opened eyes at the start of the year with a win over Dean Hamidi at the All-Star Classic. He also beat Julian Ramirez right after Ramirez beat David Carr. I think it's sort of a toss-up match. But because of Oleshnik's win, he beat Hamidi beat Caliendo. At this point and at home, I think it's a toss-up match, but give me Oleshnik.
I'm going Caliendo. He lost to Messenbrink. He lost to Hamidi. I just don't see him losing 3 in a row. I know I just said with Franek, he's lost 2 out of the last 3, but something about Caliendo, I just think he bounces back here and gets a big W.
Yeah, certainly could. At which, if that was the case, then you have like 15-3 right now. I have 12, call it 7, fix at least 1 bonus. 12-7 going to 174. Kennedy Thompson. Kennedy's the pick on paper. I mean, Kennedy's more seasoned. Kennedy has more offense. Kennedy has better wins. He beat Edmund Ruth this year, who was ranked 3 or 4 at the time. And Thompson doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of offense. However, I mean, this is another one where I think that Thompson can win, but I think this, the pick is Kennedy.
Yeah. No, I'm going Kennedy too.
Now, 84 is interesting because there's a lot of speculation about what they're going to do with Gabe Arnold, not just for this duel, but will they try to slip him in? Is he going to be the guy at Big Tens? I don't wholly buy it. I think that it's not a wrong play if they use, and I was cheerleading for it, right? I was saying use Gabe at 84 this year, use him the whole year, use him in the postseason, and Gabe shot that down and said, "I'm a 74-pounder, dog," and okay. Yeah, I get that. Fair enough. That's a good plan. But what will they do here? Will they use Gabe? Will they use Gabe at 84? And if Gabe competes well and or beats Plot, does that change things about what they do for the postseason? Now, I know that Gabe Arnold beat Feldkamp. I know he's undefeated. But I still got to go Plot.
I'm going Plot no matter who they... This is where... you kind of mentioned it, like, I can't remember what duel we were previewing, but maybe it was the Penn State one, and you said don't put him in against Bernie. I think this, for me, is like Dustin Plott is not just an 84-pounder. He's one of the best 84-pounders in the country. And for Gabe, who's a 74 guy, I don't see them bumping him up here and wrestling him. I mean, Dustin Plott's the number 2 guy in the country at 84.
Part of the formula that I said don't wrestle against Bernie is because that duel was not going to be in reach. This could be.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's true. I think Dustin Plott is just too good for either of them. I think he's...
Yeah, I'm taking Plott. 197, I don't think that Luke Serber gets enough credit. I don't think he gets enough credit at all. Listen, and now I'm gonna sound contradictory. I am taking Glazier, but everybody is writing off Luke Serber here. Luke Serber can absolutely win this match.
Well, if you look at how WrestleStat has it, even they have Serber number 13 guy in the country, Glazier 14, with Glazier beating him 9-4. Glazier's impressed me as well.
He's been really impressive.
Yeah, he's looked so good. So I'm going Glazier, but yeah, Serber's right there. I mean, when you have guys that are one apart in somebody's rankings, I think that says a lot.
Yeah, listen, to me this is a toss up. To the rest of the country, I think they're all like, yeah, Glazier's definitely winning. And he might, but it's not a definite by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't Serber might have been, where's Crystal Ball? Let me see Crystal Ball. What was Serber not like blood round last year? I mean,
I don't remember.
I think people were like, he certainly went deep. So I don't know. I think people are writing off Serber a little bit. Now, Bradley Hill, a lot of people are talking about Zach Glazier looks really good. He sort of came out of nowhere. Bradley Hill has not been wrestling bad at all. Unfortunately for him, and which makes it hard to handicap for us, is for whatever reason he hasn't wrestled a lot of the top guys, and when he did, he was well overmatched, right? He didn't even wrestle Kirkfleet. His record is good, but he hasn't hit anybody.
No,
so
the only
really
guy he hit was he hit Younger Bastida earlier in the year and lost 17-6, and he hit Lucas Davison a few weeks ago and got majored 11-2. So the few top 10 guys he wrestled, he got majored.
So we know he's not right now at the elite level, like the upper echelon level. But can he go with the mid pack? I don't know that he can't. And just like I said with Franek, Doucette is having a wonderful year. But just like I said with Franek, Doucette wrestles like scoreless regulation all the time. So I don't think a Hill win is out of consideration here. Although, the pick is Doucette, but this is one where I think I would not be surprised if Hill pulled it off.
I'm going Doucette too, but can I ask you a question?
You can ask me all the questions.
I'm going to tweet this question out and get the fans' opinion in a minute. And I want people to comment on this video and tweet us with your response. Do we see bonus points in this duel? And if so, at what weight?
Now, 133. Now, I'll say this. I have it 6-4 for Iowa, right? I also said that Caliendo could beat Olesnik, but I picked Olesnik. I also said Hill could beat Doucette, but I picked Doucette. This duel on paper is 6-4, but there's a lot more winnable matches that we gave Iowa that Okie State could win. Mm-hmm. So I have Iowa, but one flip, and Fix gets the only bonus point, and Okie State wins.
I'm trying to see if there's a line out yet for this duel. I'm very curious.
Especially when Drake's status is shaky, especially when Rachi's status is shaky, right? So this duel is fantastic. It is a
if I was betting
duel to end the season with.
If I was betting this duel, I would not be betting it until I know if Drake is wrestling or not, because I think that is a major point.
Well, it depends what the line is.
Correct, yeah. Which BetOnline doesn't have any yet, but I'll tweet them out when they do come out.
It depends what the line is. So that's the weekend.
Yeah, it's this is our final weekend of dual meets, and then you got Pan Am's this weekend, Pan Am Olympic qualifiers next weekend. Then you have not one but two international tournaments, plus you have conference championship weekend. Then you have 1 week off, and then you have NCAAs.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a fun time. And we'll be back to recap it all the week that was Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yeah, so one of the two, if not both. I'm just glad my audio is okay, because Sunday night, I can't even tell you, and I'm an early bird. I go to bed early, I wake up early, and I moved the vast majority of my podcast up to the office because I don't interfere with the kids' naps and everything else. So I came up to the office to do it. And of course, once I realized how bad the audio was, I did my best to fix it as best as I could. And it took forever. So I'm glad this one went good. But all right, we'll be back. Like, subscribe, follow we're going to come up with an award to give ourselves for this podcast. So
maybe like a brain emoji.
But we need
brain emoji trophy.
The brain is two first word, so we got to combine with two emojis, so it looks like we're both equally giving ourselves the award.
All right, let's do it.
All right, we'll be back, and we're gonna tweet out the Willie files too if Willie misses again.
don't devote too much.
And the beat goes on.